Welcome to Eyes on Earth Docs. New York City is a place of profound contrasts. It is home to iconic wealth, towering ambition, and global influence, yet it also shelters one of the largest unhoused populations in the United States. Luxury apartment buildings overlook subway grates where people sleep. High-end boutiques stand just blocks from overburdened shelters. In one of the most resource-rich urban centers in the world, tens of thousands go without a stable place to live. As of early 2025, more than 90,000 individuals across New York State experience homelessness on any given night, with the vast majority concentrated in the 5 boroughs. The scale is staggering, but numbers alone fail to capture the full reality. Families double up in overcrowded apartments, teens drift between couches, and the chronically unhoused cycle between shelters, hospitals, and city streets. This is not a temporary emergency, it is a deeply embedded urban condition. What makes New York's crisis particularly striking is the paradox at its core. The city has one of the most expansive shelter systems and strongest legal protections in the country. Yet despite decades of reform and billions in public investment, the problem has not eased, it has evolved and expanded. This report does not promise easy solutions. Instead, it traces the contours of the crisis through 8 dimensions. From who is most affected and where they live to how the system functions, what drives displacement, and what the cost is, human and civic. Our goal is to map not just policy but lived experience. Because in New York, as in much of the nation, homelessness is not only a housing issue. It is a reflection of what and who we choose to protect. In 2025, over 70,000 people sleep each night in New York City's shelters. Thousands more go unsheltered, on trains, in parks, or doubled up in overcrowded housing. No other city in the United States reports such a high homeless population, and this crisis reaches into nearly every demographic group. Families with children make up about 1/3 of the city's homeless population. This sets New York apart from many other major cities, where the homeless are primarily single adults. Black New Yorkers are especially affected, comprising more than half of shelter residents while representing only about a quarter of the city's population. Latinx communities also face disproportionate rates. Many people experiencing homelessness are employed in low-wage jobs, in food service, home care, or retail. The issue is not always unemployment, but the growing gap between income and rent. Among the most vulnerable are LGBTQ+ youth, undocumented immigrants, and individuals aging out of foster care. Many of them cycle through shelters, short stays with friends, and periods of sleeping rough. Others face untreated health issues or disabilities that make work and shelter access even harder. Even with a shelter system larger than any other in the country, New York faces a severe housing gap. Affordable housing development lags far behind need. Many existing low-income units are deteriorating or being converted into market-rate housing. Nearly half of the city's households are rent-burdened, spending over 30% of their income just to stay housed. For thousands, one missed paycheck or rent hike is all it takes to fall into crisis. Homelessness in New York is not evenly distributed. It concentrates in patterns shaped by economics, infrastructure, and access to services. Some neighborhoods carry a far greater share of the burden, while others see the crisis only in passing. In Manhattan, especially Midtown and the financial district, unsheltered homelessness is most visible. Many individuals gravitate here due to access to transit, meal services, and relative safety in public areas. Libraries, fast food restaurants, and churches often become informal daytime shelters. The Bronx, however, hosts the largest number of shelter placements. Years of disinvestment and limited affordable housing have made it the city's default location for new shelters and transitional housing. Entire blocks are dominated by temporary facilities, creating tension with long-time residents who feel disproportionately burdened. In Brooklyn, neighborhoods like East New York and Brownsville have seen growing numbers of homeless individuals, many displaced by gentrification. Those unable to keep up with rising rents often find themselves in the shelter system or precarious living situations. Queens and Staten Island show lower official numbers, but this often reflects a lack of shelters, not reduced need. In these outer boroughs, homelessness is often hidden in basement apartments, garages, or doubled-up households where entire families live in one bedroom. Geography shapes access. Remote shelters may lack proximity to schools, jobs, and medical care. Transport costs pile up. And for families, long commutes mean instability in education and employment. The crisis of homelessness in New York is not the result of any single event. It is the cumulative outcome of layered and long-standing factors, economic, structural, and political. At the core lies a profound shortage of affordable housing. Decades of divestment from public housing, exclusionary zoning, and surging real estate values have squeezed out low-income renters. Vouchers, even when available, are often unusable due to landlords refusing them or a lack of qualifying units. Waitlists for public housing stretch for years. Wage stagnation has deepened the crisis. While salaries at the top climb ever higher, working-class New Yorkers are being left behind. A minimum wage job does not cover the rent for even a studio apartment in most parts of the city. The gig economy adds further instability, irregular hours, no benefits, and no protections. Mental health issues and substance use play a role, but they are not root causes. Cuts to inpatient care and community treatment over decades have left many people without support. Emergency rooms and jails have become the default systems for managing untreated conditions. Structural racism is embedded in the geography of displacement. Redlining, urban renewal, and gentrification have disproportionately affected communities of color, destroying housing, severing social networks, and fueling intergenerational instability. Ultimately, homelessness in New York is not a matter of bad choices. It is often the result of systems failing when people need them most. Illness, a job loss, or a rent increase can begin a downward spiral with no safety net to catch the fall. New York City maintains the nation's largest municipal shelter system, shaped by a unique legal obligation: the right to shelter, affirmed by the 1981 Callahan v. Carey Court decision. This commitment has led to billions of dollars invested in temporary housing. But shelters are not homes; they are a response to crisis, not a path to resolution. At any given time, over 70,000 people reside in shelters, hotel rooms, or group facilities managed or funded by the city. While some receive case management or housing placement assistance, others remain in limbo for months or years. The average stay for families exceeds 500 days. This delay is not due to inaction, but to a shortage of affordable units and an overtaxed bureaucracy. Policy solutions often prioritize immediate relief over structural change. Temporary contracts expand hotel usage during emergencies, but long-term planning lags. Community opposition and zoning restrictions further stall efforts to build new shelters or supportive housing. Even large-scale initiatives, such as the 1515 Supportive Housing Program, face delays in construction and implementation. Coordination between city, state, and federal agencies is inconsistent. Rental assistance may be available, but without matching landlords or supportive services, progress halts. Fragmentation between housing, healthcare, and social services undermines continuity of care. The legal right to shelter is a vital safeguard, but it can obscure the deeper issue. New York's crisis stems not only from a lack of beds, but from a failure to provide stable, permanent homes. Not everyone experiencing homelessness in New York is in a shelter. Thousands live outdoors or in transit, avoiding the system entirely. Their reasons vary: safety concerns, trauma, autonomy, or negative past experiences with institutional settings. For many, shelter feels like containment, not refuge. Street life is a daily exercise in survival. Belongings are protected with vigilance. People rest in shifts to stay safe. Fast food restaurants, public libraries, and transit hubs offer temporary warmth. Encampments, though often dismantled, reappear because the need persists. City responses are frequently enforcement-driven. Sweeps of encampments disrupt fragile routines and scatter belongings. These actions rarely offer alternatives, leading to recurring displacement. Outreach teams provide essential services, meals, medical care, trust, but are limited in scope and coverage. Street homelessness is highly visible, especially in central neighborhoods. This visibility can fuel public frustration and political backlash, yet visibility is not the same as understanding. Without addressing root causes, efforts to clean up public spaces risk further marginalizing those already excluded. Street homelessness is not a parallel issue. It is the symptom of a system that cannot meet the scale or complexity of the need. Behind every data point in New York's homelessness crisis lies a human story, marked not only by hardship, but also by resilience, loss, and the quiet dignity of survival. These are not abstract figures in a policy report. They are neighbors, workers, veterans, children, and elders. They are people who once had homes, jobs, communities, and who, through a convergence of personal challenges and structural failures, now navigate life without stable shelter. Some are parents waking before dawn in sheltered dormitories to get their children to school, then commuting to minimum-wage jobs that barely cover transportation. Others are youth who fled unsafe households and now rotate between friends' couches, drop-in centers, and nights on the train. There are those who live with chronic illnesses or disabilities and have seen their benefits fail to keep pace with the cost of rent. Some are aging veterans, living off fixed incomes that no longer afford even a room in the city they served. These stories reveal how housing insecurity intersects with race, gender, immigration status, health, and historical trauma. They show how losing a job, facing eviction, or experiencing a health emergency can set off a domino effect, from instability to homelessness to entrenchment in a system that is often more punitive than supportive. They illustrate the compounded barriers faced by those with criminal records, untreated mental health conditions, or limited English proficiency. Importantly, these stories also reveal the cracks between systems. How someone may be eligible for housing support but unable to navigate the bureaucracy, or how one missed appointment can delay assistance for months. They highlight the emotional toll of instability, the stress, the isolation, the erosion of hope. And they underscore how even modest interventions, rental assistance, legal advocacy, trauma-informed care, can dramatically alter outcomes. Listening to the lived experience of those affected is not optional, it is essential. Without centering their voices, policies risk addressing symptoms rather than causes. The human cost of homelessness is not limited to those without homes, it extends to the civic fabric of the city itself. It tests our willingness to uphold equity, compassion, and justice not only in principle, but in practice. New York City's homelessness crisis is not simply a housing issue. It is a reflection of deeper structural choices. It reveals how, even in one of the world's wealthiest and most progressive cities, systemic gaps can leave tens of thousands without stable shelter. This report has traced the dimensions of that crisis, its scale, geography, root causes, and human toll. It has shown how shelters, though critical, are not solutions. It has underscored how visibility does not equate to understanding, and how individual stories illuminate institutional failure. But none of this is inevitable. The crisis is not a natural disaster, it is a result of policy, investment, and political will. Solutions exist: accelerated affordable housing, coordinated care models, rent support, mental health reform, and real-time data systems. What's needed is consistent leadership and public pressure to act. More than anything, New York must shift how it views homelessness, from a problem to manage to a population to support. The future of the city will not be measured by its skyline, but by whether all its residents have a place to sleep beneath it.